Will do. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so hi everyone. My name is Julie St. John, and I'm the lead trainer and technologist with SuiteCX. And the reason we are hosting this call today is to inform you of some of our new product features. We just went through a pretty big change, and we would call this sort of SuiteCX 2.0. So we thought it was worth taking everyone through the changes we've made and where those changes will be noticed. So I'm going to go ahead and start right at the login. So first thing you're going to do is just log into SuiteCX. I want to call your attention to something here that's relatively minor, but it's actually sort of important. Is you'll notice on the login screen we are showing the browsers that we support, and we've sort of faded out 3 of the different browsers. So right now SuiteCX is operating at its best capacity in Firefox or Chrome. Those of you who have Macs, I believe you're using Safari. So at this time, our user experience is not ideal in Safari. So if you're using a Mac and if you can install Firefox or Chrome, that would be most beneficial when you're working with SuiteCX. Darcy, that might help you with some of the issues that you've had too.
I did. I switched to Chrome because Safari was just getting in my way.
Okay, perfect. Now we do have an initiative out there. We will probably be working on our Safari user experience, but that's just not something we did in this phase of the project. So stay tuned. We'll keep you posted in the next few months. We might be doing a Safari compatibility upgrade. So we'll keep you posted on that. So go ahead and sign in. When you sign in, you're going to come to the project list page, and this is going to look very much the way that it looked before. So the only thing that I would call your attention to here that's different. Hey, Darcy, can you go on mute?
Yes.
Thank you. But do ask questions. So come off mute when you have a question. I heard your dishes clanging. So what you'll notice here is essentially the same features that you had before. We've just kind of cleaned up the look. We've just using some different icons, and we got rid of a couple options that were a little redundant. So from the project list page, you can click in to edit your project. That would be edit the title of the project. You can also change the users on the project here. You can clone the project, so that is creating a complete copy of the project so someone else can leverage the interaction points and maps that you've created. You can delete the project. You can export all the data from the project. This hasn't changed. You can do an import to the project, which I'll go over file imports at the end. We're going to talk about all the different types of file imports you can do and how you get to those. So skip this for now. You can click into your inventory, just like you could before. We pulled forward our iPoint database, which is a feature that we always had, but it was kind of hidden in the tool. So this might be a little new to some of you, but this is super useful, and I will click into this in a minute. And then we also have our all maps here. Now this is a new feature that we're calling our map database, and we're going to talk about this today at length. And then we have add a map, which we had before, and then search, and we have upgraded our search capabilities here. So from here, what I would normally do, and I'm going to try and run this session today the way that you would normally work so that I'm not jumping around to things in strange order. So the first thing that I would normally do when I log in and go to the project list page is I would click into the project that I'm interested in working on. So let's go ahead and click into Julie's World of Retail, which is just a very small project that I've set up strictly for training purposes. So this is going to take you into your inventory. And your inventory should look similar to the way it did before. We have not made any radical changes to inventory. And once you're here, I do want to call your attention to the icons over at the top here, which is where you've got most of your features. Essentially, these are the same as they were before. They just look a little different. We're using some different iconography throughout the tool. So, but everything's kind of in the same place it was before. This is where you would add a new interaction point. This will pull up your iPoint library, and you can sort through and look for the iPoints that are relevant to you. Just double click on them, and then you'll have them added to the screen. That's not different. Adding a storytelling element. This is the same as before. This will pull up all the different sort of text boxes and images and shapes and sticky notes and emotional signs and people that we had before. This is the same. This is where you can print. That's the same. This is our map database. This is new. This is our iPoint database, and we've pulled this forward. And this is how we create a view of this map. Nothing new here. And this is how we show our paths. Nothing new here. So I'm going to click on first the iPoint database. So right now I'm on the inventory map and I'm looking at sort of a visual representation of my iPoints. There is another method that we use, and it's called the iPoint database. And you can just think of this in the most simple way as being just a table version of the same map that I was just on. So we basically have two ways of looking at all of our maps. We have the visual storytelling picture of our map with all of the creative icons we've included and images and text. On each map, we have a set of iPoints, and those iPoints are usually on those maps as visual pieces of the story. The other way you can look at your iPoints is here, which is in more of a database view. So this is really just showing you the same thing you saw a minute ago on the inventory map. However, these are just the names of your iPoints. Up at the top, you can select the map you want to look at. So if I select any map that I choose, it'll pull up the results, which will give me all the iPoints that are available on that map. If you have a lot of iPoints, you can always increase the number of iPoints that are visible on the screen. Usually I just click all just to see that I have a full data set. And then just some things you can do here with your iPoints. You can edit your iPoint from here. You can delete an iPoint from here. You can clone an iPoint from here, which gives it a unique ID, making it essentially a new iPoint. And you can go to the iPoint 360 view. This is something that we always had before, just a little bit more buried. So if I'm going to go back to my iPoint editor, let's see how I go back. Okay, there's a little bit of something goofy there, so stay tight on that. I'm going to take a note of why we couldn't go back to the iPoint database. Thank you for your patience because we just launched all this code last week. We're still kind of working out the kinks. But from the iPoint database, you can see if your iPoint is in inventory or not. That will be this inventory flag over here on the left, Y or no. Since I'm on inventory right now, they're all in inventory. That's just letting you know that all of these iPoints exist in inventory. If I went to a different map, then I might have some ends because maybe some of these iPoints aren't in inventory at this time. It'll tell you what icon's being used. It'll tell you if you have an emotional state flagged or if you've loaded any scores and where it exists on the lifecycle department or channel, the columns and rows. So this is basically all I want to show on the iPoint database. Like I said, we really didn't make any changes to this. This was always there. It was just hidden behind a couple different buttons, and now we've pulled it forward so that's more prominent so that you can use it more frequently. So back to our inventory map. Now if you're on this map and you want to go to your map library and you want to see all the maps that exist in your project, what you would do is you would go to what we call the map database. So this is brand new. This looks quite a bit different than anything you've seen before. You'll notice it looks a whole lot like the iPoint database. So we're trying to create a consistent user experience around how we show iPoints and how we show maps in this format. So again, if you want to make sure you've got all shown, I only have a few maps in this project because it's just a small testing project. So here's all my maps. You can look at the maps in this view, and from here you can edit the map, you can clone the map, you can archive the map, you can download all the data from the map, or you can delete. So this is a place where you can manage your maps. Now there's also an option up here at the top to switch to what we call tiles view. And this will give you more of a thumbnail view of your map library, which I find very useful because you may not remember what your maps look like, or the name of the map might not be enough information for you to determine if this is the map I want to click on. So once you've pulled up your tiles, you can click into any of the maps that you're interested in, and it will just pull up that map. So think of your map database as sort of your home button. I think we used to call it the map selector, and we taught that that was our home button. Well, now the map selector is basically the map database. So you kind of just toggle between working on your maps and going to the map database to find out what other map you need to work on. So any questions so far on tiles versus tables, or how the tables work? Okay so far? Okay. So next up, we've got add a map. This is going to be where you'll probably spend a lot of your time actually doing the work. Thanks, Deanna. I'm glad you like the tiles. And so let's click into add a map, and I'm going to show you something that is probably the most radical change that we've done so far with the platform. Is we used to have, I think we had 27 different map templates, and I used to teach people about all 27 different map templates, but what we found over time is that we had created one map type that really sort of superseded the previous map type. So it was just part of our evolution and part of our growth, part of our maturity. So we created the 3 to 10 column hybrid map like a year or two ago. I think it was 2 years ago. And we realized that we could do everything in that map, essentially everything, that we could do in all these other variations. So we wanted to make the user experience more simple for everybody. So now we only have 4, 8, essentially 10 different map types that you can make. And they have a description that should give you an indication of what would this map look like, or what would this map give me. So I'm just going to go through each one of them. We have the basic story map, which is something we always had before. This is a good place to start. This is where generally I have people get started for their first map. We have a story over process map, which would be if you have a situation or a scenario where you have a customer experience, but you also have information regarding maybe a backstage business process or an internal working process, then this would give you a template that you can use that will already have the story map set up with the backstage canvas. You can draw your like Visio diagram. We have story over data map, which would give you your customer experience story. And then if you have some supporting metrics that would make sense in a bar chart or a pie chart, then this would be the right template for use for that. Story map with custom background. This is one of our most popular maps. If you have a graphic design background that you've done at your company, or that maybe we've done for you, and you want to load up that custom background, and then you want to draw your eye points on top of it and add your text to it that way, then this would be the template that you would choose. We included our split screen story map, which will give you sort of your over under or inside outside example. We have this new feature. It's our customer graph over company graph map. This was something that we came up with just very recently, like in the past 6 months. And what we've done is we've sort of matured our scoring methodology in the tool. And we have 3 customer score fields available, and we have 3 company score fields available. And we created a feature where you can have a journey map with auto graphs. So if I choose this particular format or feature, then any of the customer scores that I assign to my eye points will automatically be plotted on a graph just below the journey story. And any of the customer scores that I load into my interaction points will be auto-graphed also on a graph that's called like a customer or a company metrics graph. So this one is more advanced. I don't want to go into this deeply today with the group, but just know that this exists. This could probably be its own little tutorial. So if this is interesting to you and you're on the call today, take a note of it, and then let's follow up separately and we can just show you this one. This is a super awesome map. We have our process map, very similar to what we had before. This would be if you're looking at things that look more like an OmniGraffle or a Lucid chart or a Visio diagram, this would be the right template for you. We have our executive summary map. This would be the great big map that you've got all your insights and your findings, your recommendations, you have your story, you have done your homework, you're ready to create the final presentation, then this would be the right map for us to use at that time. This is definitely not a place I would start. We have the grid map. Now the grid map is just like the inventory map, only it's a grid map, it's not inventory. So there's only one inventory allowed per project, and that's because our inventory has special capabilities. And those of you who have come to my 100 level class, you know how important it is to load your inventory first. And then you can import your iPoints to any of these maps from inventory and save yourself a ton of time. And also make sure that your data is carried forward throughout the entire project. Now, a grid map is just a grid map. So a grid map would be in the case where you may already have an inventory, but maybe you have some totally different iPoints that don't really belong in your inventory, but you still want to show them on a grid map, then this would be the perfect template for you to use for that. Persona maps. So we have completely revamped our persona map user experience and template. So I'm going to show you that towards the end of our training today, because that's kind of its own thing. Then we have, for those of you who say, I'm not sure if I like these templates or I'm a power user, basically these last two options I would reserve for power users. And one of them is configure your own map, which means you're going to decide what all your columns and rows are. You're going to decide if you're using a process map or a journey map. You're going to decide if you're using images or videos or links. You're going to build the map yourself. So that would be configure your own map. And then here's a super feature we've got, which would be super useful for those of you who are managing across projects or across teams. This is the capability that we didn't have before. It's brand new, where you can export a journey map with all of its details, including its images and text and iPoints, from one project to it, and then you can import it to another. This is not like using a CSV upload script. This is actually exporting the entire map in a certain format, and you don't really need to worry about that right now. But if you're working and you're saying, well, you know, I have this awesome executive summary map that's in one of my projects, but now I'm working in a different project and I really want to leverage this exact same map template and maybe even some of the content, then this would be the perfect time for you to export the map from one project and then import it into another. And it's super easy, but I'm not going to show you this today. Today's just sort of a high-level overview of all the features. So let's see what's next on my outline here. Let's do two maps together just to sort of make you feel comfortable with the new working style. So let's start with a basic story map. I'm just going to click into this. Now, when I click into this, I'm automatically in edit mode. So immediately my map editor is open and available. So the first thing that I would do is I would give my map a name. And a description. And at that time, I can even give my title bar a color. What I do with colors, this is just my personal preference, is I like to use the branding of the company that I'm working with. So if I'm working with General Motors, their color is blue. That's their brand. We're working with 7-Eleven, they had like an orange brand color, or Shell had an orange brand color, etc. So whatever your brand color is, I tend to use those on my maps. It's just my personal preference. You don't have to do that. So I updated the title and the description. I'm going to click Save. And then I'm going to close this just so you can see the actual template before we continue editing. So what we've done is we've just got a template here that contains a title. It contains 5 columns here, which we would normally use as life cycle phases. We have a journey story, which we don't have any iPoints on yet, but we'll add those. And then we have an emotional heat map. And we have a space for doing, thinking, and feeling. So this is what we would consider to be a super basic, your first map, nothing complicated. So how am I going to start adding content to this map? What I'm going to do is I'm going to go back into that editor that I had open a minute ago. So really what we're doing here is we're just working our way across the left, and we're clicking on everything that we can click on, and then we're just seeing what's available. So I've already done the title and description. Now I'm going to move into my rows. So row 1 is done. Row 2 is my title bar. So this could be our life cycle phases. Now I can just go ahead and start giving these a title. We'll do something very generic today. Something like repeat purchase. Now, if you have another phase in your life cycle, no problem. We can add. So now I've just added another one. Let's say then I become a loyalty customer. So this is totally customizable. You can have up to 10 life cycle phases or as few as 3. So again, following the theme of our 3 to 10 column hybrid, we can have anywhere from 3 to 10 life cycle phases. So now what I do with my colors is I just give everything a gradient on the scale of the theme color that I've chosen. So I really just use that theme color and then just go from light to dark. You don't have to do that. Some people like to just use totally unique colors and make it really bright, and that's fine too. But this is where you would do that. Notice you just have your color bar appear here. And then I'll click save. Just a little reminder here. If we have a save button, it means that you need to use it. So if you see a save button, use it. If you were to do this and then click onto another row without hitting save, your work would not be saved. So just save each section while you work on it. Now, if I pull down my editor or close my editor, you can see that we just gave our map lifecycle phases, and now they have a title. So that's cool. So next up, why don't we add some eye points? Just like before, there's 2 ways to add eye points to your map. And the first way is to import eye points from inventory, which is why I highly recommend making sure your inventory is well populated before you start building journey maps. So to get to that, we're going to go to our import from inventory button up here. This is the same as it was before. Once we click on that, we can say, show me all my eye points. I like to choose by default life cycle because it helps orient me to where do these eye points live? Which phase are they part of? So once you see the eye points here that are in your inventory, you can just go ahead and start adding the ones that you want by clicking add this. So maybe I'll just add trigger, and I'll add some from research and compare, and then I'll click back to map. Your eye points will gather in the upper left-hand corner, and then this is where you can just click and drag and move your eye points and put them where they belong on the map. So a couple questions you might have about this. You may be wondering, well, how do I change the design of this map? And what is showing on my eye point, and why do I have these circles on the edge of my eye point? So I'll address both of those. Let's say we want to change the design of this blue line. The one we have right now we call the meandering path. It just sort of means the customer's meandering through the experience, no real extreme highs or lows. It's kind of like a linear line, but not quite linear. So let me click on Edit this map. And then what I do is I go find the row that relates to where I am. So row 3 is my story map row in this template. So here's all my available backgrounds. And you can see we've pre-populated here with the most popular lines and storytelling elements. So if I see something that's a better representation of my story, I just click on it and then click save. And then just like before, your screen will refresh, and then you'll have a new background. And then you'll have to align your eye points on the new background, but that's just like it operated before, nothing different there. Now with regards to what's visible on your eye point, let's get to that in a second. Let me get back to my editor. As you notice, you're going to be really living in this editor. You're basically doing all your mapping work in the editor. So the next row is my emotional heat map, or my emotional gradient. Here's my options. And let's say, just for the purpose of this, let's say that our experience goes from angry or frustrated to being less angry or frustrated, and we kind of finish on a high note. So what I'm doing here is I'm just giving this emotional experience a sort of a color, which is on a scale from angry to delighted. So as you move across the scale, you'll see the color change. And then when you're done, you're happy with your changes, just click save, and then you'll see that you can see behind this that my emotional heat bar is now updated. So row 5 is our text box. And the first thing we had here was doing. So what are we doing during this phase? This is where you can just type directly into the text box, and you'll see you have a text box available for every life cycle phase, awareness, consideration, first purchase, using, etc. So this is what my customer is doing. Same as before, you can increase the font, you can change the color. Nothing really much different here. One note that I'll make is if you are copying text from somewhere, then make sure you click on this source button before you make that copy. And then you should be able to grab text, and I'll just grab some text from my training outline today because I have it open. And I can pull it into here as a copy, click on this, and then what that does is that just removes the formatting. So you'll have to do a little bit of cleanup, but it will keep you from having any strange coding or formatting in your text, and then that way you don't have to actually type all this in. So this is my copy. And then once I'm done with this, I'll click save. And then just to give us a view of what we've done, here is the text that we've added. And you can just see how you just keep plugging along as you go. And that is the same for thinking and feeling. Those work exactly the same. So back to our edit this map. Now, I mentioned earlier that there's a way to determine how your eye point looks. This is new. This is pretty helpful. People ask us a lot about, can we show this on the face of our eye point, or can we turn this off, or can we make them look more simple, or can we make them look more advanced? You know, every option available. So what we've got here is a way for you to determine how your eye point looks. So if I want to show my actors, I can click show. If I have backgrounds I want to show them, I can do that. If I have an emotional state at the eye point level, I'm just going to go ahead and turn everything on and then click save, just so you can see how different your eye point looks with everything on, and then click save. So now this is a fully baked, fully loaded eye point that has everything available as visible that you've got tagged on your eye point. Now, if I have the opposite approach and I really want a minimalistic eye point, maybe even I don't even like the icon. Let me show you what you can do there. What I'm doing is I'm going to eye point visible element toggles, and I can just start hiding things. So let's say I really want to simplify this eye point. I want to hide everything, including those connector circles. I'm just going to hide and save and close, and now I have kind of a naked eye point. So people do ask for this. So you can, work with your eye points this way. You can really customize the way they look. Now, what I would probably do in most cases, my personal preference, I do like the icon. I like the icon. I like the emotional state, and I like the actors. That would be my choice. So this is just your ability to customize the eye point to make it look how you want it to look. Now, I want to also talk about the eye point editor. So we've been working in our map editor, but we've also changed the way that our eye point editor looks and functions. So I'm going to click into this eye point here because it doesn't have a title. And what I've just done is I've opened up our eye point editor. So again, just like the map editor, we're moving all of our work to be inline editing. So instead of having you kind of click, click, click around, we're having all your edits happen in one place. So I can essentially build everything I need to build into this eye point by just clicking through the left-hand screen, and you'll notice this looks very much like your map editor. So now I can give my eye point a title. I can give my eye point a description. I can choose some attributes about this eye point, whether it's planned or unplanned. Is this a pain point? Is this automated? Save. Now I've added some character to my eye point. You'll see the eye point. While you're editing it, it kind of floats in the upper left-hand corner here, so you can sort of see what you're doing. I can add scores. So this is where I mentioned earlier, we've matured our scoring sort of philosophy. So what we have now is 3 placeholders for customer scores, and that would be like customer engagement, customer satisfaction, or NPS. Those are 3 good examples of customer scores. And then we also have a placeholder for 3 company scores. Something like ROI would be a good score, engagement, and effort. So this is where you can add your scores as you wish. And this would, if we were using the autographs map, then just by populating these scores here, I would essentially create a graph in my map. So I've got my scores loaded. Next up is emotion. So I can give this eye point a emotion. You'll see the color updates in the upper right-hand corner as I do it. Personas. This works the same. I can create a persona. So I'll create a persona here named Molly. And I created it just by clicking into the placeholder text and giving it a name. And then I can tag this eye point to say this eye point is relevant to this segment. I'm going to click save. I've got doing, thinking, feeling, findings and recommendations. I can upload attachments. I can link out to something. I can change the eye point icon from here just by sorting through the icon library and seeing all the different options. And then if you want to change that icon, you just click on it, double click on it, and you see it change. I could give my icon a color. I can say this one is red or brick. I can change the background of the eye point. Here's my scores. Again, I can also load metrics, and just like before, we prompt you, we give you some ideas of what metrics might be appropriate depending on the type of interaction point we're dealing with. And then we pulled all of our campaign information into the single eye point editor before it was in a separate editor. So you can describe if you're working in Marcoms and this is marketing communication related, you can talk about the campaign, you can add the campaign details. We still have our history and usage, so this is just your administrative information about this eye point. And then we have membership, which same thing we had before. Membership is the ability to add this eye point to other maps in your project by simply clicking on the name of the map in membership and then hitting save. So that's a super handy and convenient feature. So maybe I'll take a pause here. Are there any questions so far on the new eye point editor and the map database, using templates to create a map?
If I want to make the map at the top bigger, and so because I want the focus to be primarily on that, and then keep the thinking, feeling, and doing, and make that smaller, or how do is there a way to increase the size of the map to make it easier when you're trying to view it with a group?
Yes, great question. So we want to basically double the size of this canvas for the journey map because, like Darcy said, that's our focus for this story. So I'm going to open up my map editor again. And then this is where I can really just customize this map myself. Even though I started with a template, I can change the template. So you're going to click on Change Row Functionality and Names, and this will pull up everything that's in your map and how your map looks and how your map works. So just to orient you to what you're looking at what all these rows are. So row 1 is your title, row 2 is your subtitle or your journey story phases. Row 3 is your story map. Now, if I click on this drop down, what we've selected for now in the template is story map small. Let's say I want to do story map large. So I'm going to take Darcy's suggestion and even add something extra to it. So let's say we want to do story map large, but we also want to include some customer scores. Since I brought it up, I should probably show you. So I'm going to choose customer story map with graph large. And I just updated that field. And then let's say I also have some metrics that maybe my template, maybe I realized later, I created this template, but I realized later, oh, I have some really good metrics too. I don't want to build a whole new map from scratch. Well, you can just add that here. So let me go to, I found a new row that I wasn't using and I added graph, and then I'll give it a title and just call it metrics. and then let's click Save. And then close. And then you'll see that the map refreshed. And now Darcy has a bigger working area, a lot more space to use. And she also has an auto graph that just showed up. And this graph here is the graph that appears and auto populates depending on the scores that you've populated in your iPoint. So right now we don't have a lot of scores populated, but if I want to fix that, I'll click on my iPoints and I'll load some scores, save, close, and I'm going to refresh. And then you'll see the scores start popping up in the graph. And then over on the right, you'll have a little dial that tells you of all the iPoints you have and the total possible score they could have, what your score is right now. And we've only scored 2 iPoints, so we only have a total score of 12 for customer engagement. We have a total score of 8 for customer satisfaction and a total score of 11 for NPS. And that's just because we don't have a lot of data populated. So hopefully you can see how that would be helpful. We've been using this auto graph a lot more lately. It's very cool that, of course, the only dependency there is that you actually have some scores to work with. So I also added some metrics at the bottom because we decided, oh, we have more than I realized. I'm going to add some metrics. So now that I've got my metrics placeholder at the bottom, if I want to actually go add the metrics, I'll click into edit this map. And now I've got a new row at the bottom that I didn't have before, and it's row 8 graph. And this is where I can give my metrics some values. So let's say I want to talk about our communications, how many SMS, direct mail, and email communications we are doing in each life cycle phase. So I'll just give these some fun numbers, and I'll just do the first one for now. Click Save, and then close, and here's my graph. So even though we've given you templates, you can totally edit the template. You can modify the template, you can change the template, so you will never be stuck in the template that you chose. We really just did that to give everyone sort of a starting point, and also to simplify from the 27 templates we had before down to just 10, knowing that these 10 could basically satisfy most of your mapping requirements. Is that a good lesson there, Darcy?
Yeah, the only other thing is there a possibility to add like a graphic into the journey map someplace? One, maybe one for each phase, or a couple just to make the map look a little more interesting.
So with
for those who are
like a picture,
Yeah.
Okay. Definitely. So I didn't choose a template that had pictures already set up, but again, that's okay. We can change this template. Now, the way that you would change this template, that's a little bit more of an advanced change, but it's not, we can still do it. So I'll go to change.
Okay, we can wait if you don't want to do it on this class.
No, it's okay. What we'll do is we just go to change, we go to where we were, and then we would just pick the place where you would want to add the graph. And generally we do the graphs right under the subtitle of the life cycle phase. Right. So what I would do there is I would just pull everything else down. And this is worth showing. So let me show it to people, even though it's slightly tedious. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to take all the features that I have and just pull them down. So this now becomes the feeling, the thinking, the doing.
Okay.
These are text. So you have to update the functionality as well. So text. And then this will become the heat map. So we'll pull that down as well as its label. And then this is the journey story. So this becomes customer graph map with large, story map with large. Yep. And give this the title. And then this is where we want to put our images. So I would do embed map image, and I give it a title like context or something. Now I've just completely changed this map. I'm gonna click save and close. And now I'm going to I have to pull down, you have to pull down your iPoints manually because they aren't actually connected to the line from a database perspective, but that just takes a second. So now what we've done is we've inserted a place to load images, which that's nice. That adds a lot of context to our storytelling. So now once you have an image editor, the way that you operate with that is, again, go back to your map editor, and then it'll give us that new row that we just added. And then I just go through here and say, you know, I'm going to add an image for column 1. I'm going to browse to it, and I'm going to open it and upload it.
Okay.
And
great.
You just, yeah, so you
That's
just,
easy.
Yep, it's super easy. You just do that all the way through, and then that way you'll have an image for each of the life cycle phases. Now, if I knew ahead of time, if I knew before I started this map that I wanted images, I would have chosen a different template. So
okay,
let's go back to our map database and go to add a map. Now, can you all see the example, the visual representation of the map here? I know it's small, but what we've loaded is an example. So the one we chose didn't have images, but the one right next to it does. And we've also got story over data template. This one does, and we ended up using data too. So if you clicked on this one, this template would come preset with the images at the top. So Darcy, if you always make your maps with images at the top, you would just choose this particular template instead of the one we chose.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, good question, because that's a really important question and lesson that people might run across. So you can always change the template you chose, but if you know ahead of time what you're looking for, try to choose the template that most, appropriately fits what you're looking for so that you have the minimal amount of work to do. So let me check my outline here to see if I've covered, we added a map. Okay, I want to show you personas. Personas are entirely new. So let's go back to our map database. That's our home button. And of course, we can go to tiles so we can see what's in here. And when you click on tiles, it does take a minute to render, sometimes literally a minute. So don't be frustrated with that. The reason why that is because I just made 2 new maps. So the system has never rendered those images before. So if you aren't creating new maps, it'll be really fast. But once you've created a couple new maps, it'll just take a minute. So what we'll do next, like here's our map we created together. Let's go to add a map, and then I'm going to choose persona map. So let's click on persona map. So this looks more complicated than it is. In every project, you have 13 available segments or personas. From a practice standpoint, the difference between a persona and a segment is, we treat it functionally like it's the same, but a segment is a group that you know about that's actually exists in your database and you have metrics on, whereas a persona is more general, generic people in the universe who fit in different categories based on their age or technical capabilities or things that they like or don't like. So you can choose here whether you're making a persona or a segment just by clicking on persona or a segment. You still have the 13 available. So I want to make a persona map. And I already gave my persona map a name when I was in my iPoint editor, and I gave this name to one of my personas. I called it Molly M. But I haven't actually created that map yet. So let's create that map right now. So let's click on this. Okay. I wonder why that happened. It wants me to click here. Okay, I'll tell Michael about that. Save new map. So that's how I get into the map editor for persona. So again, we're trying to make it really easy for everybody by having every map work the same way. You're going to be in your map editor again. So I'm going to say this is my Molly M segment as is, and this is Molly millennial, current state, save. I have, sorry, I don't want to go too fast. That I was on edit map title and description. Next up is my persona segment image. We did preload a library of images for personas because unlike your journey maps where you're sort of using creative images that represent your story and those are really unique, there's only so many people types and there's only so many persona types. So we thought we would preload with some of the most popular images used for personas. So she kind of looks like Molly Millennial, so I'll use her. Here's where I configure my persona map. So this is where I can determine what the actual journey phase piece of the map looks like. I can change the color of the background. I can change the way that the map looks. I can turn on or off these digital or analog options, and I can turn on or off the life cycle option. This is basically the same as before, it just looks different. Attributes and content. So this is where you can give your person a name or a handle. So maybe her Instagram name is Molly M. This is her Insta. She's 32. She makes $75,000 a year. She works in advertising. She's married. And let's click save. So I'll click close so you can see what I did. So as you type in the editor, it just starts updating your map for you. And you just kind of keep going from there. You can add about, you can add doing, thinking, feeling. You can talk about what access she has to different devices. I mean, nowadays it's all mobile, right? You can do where she shops. So she shops at Stitch Fix online. Let me see, what else? Amazon.
Whole Foods.
Oh, for sure, Whole Foods. And she buys used clothes on Poshmark. So let's hit save. And let's say top 5 goals or motivation: to make money, to have fun, to keep up with her friends, to travel, and life experiences. Save. So you can kind of see how you would just think through this person. And what we've done is all this stuff that I'm populating is just sort of available. It's just hanging out over here. So now you can just kind of move things around. Before we had these, I don't know if you remember what it looked like before, but we had these very strict fields that were pre-outlined, and you could only put so much information in there. So now you can add a whole lot more to your persona map, and everything you add will just kind of randomly appear on the screen, and then you just move it and put it where it belongs. Now, as for her journey story, this works the same as before. You can import iPoints from your iPoint library, just like you did on the other map we made, or you can add a new iPoint by opening up your iPoint library and double-clicking. That's not a good iPoint for her, but you see what I'm saying. You just double-click it and put it where it belongs. So to get back to the iPoint query tool, you go import from inventory, show me all my iPoints by default lifecycle. Let's add the shopping, because this is my retail project anyway. This project was designed for basically Molly doing her shopping. So we'll just lay this out where it belongs on the story. And I'm just kind of slowly chipping away at building my persona map. Have you seen this new persona map before, Darcy?
Yeah, actually, but I think it's much better because I would get stuck with the old one with clients have certain things they have preferences for, and you can't get them in the space they've got.
Ah, right, exactly. So you can just fill out all this space now. You can just keep going.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. So I wanted to show this. This is important. This is new. Then with our time left, we have just under 10 minutes. I want to show you about uploading data. So that's works the same, but it's a little bit different how you get to it. So let's talk about 2 things. Let's talk about the first scenario, which is I have a inventory of iPoints, and I want to load them as a new project using Excel. So let's back out of this project. Now I'm back at my project list page, and let's go to my options down here. So I want to either create a new project with our wizard, meaning I don't have any iPoints and I don't care about inventory right now. I'm just going to create an empty project. That's fine. That's 1-2 clicks. No need to talk about that today. If you want to import a file, this is going to be exactly like it was before. So I just clicked on, I have an inventory, I've created it, I want to import it and create a new project with it. The most important thing is your help center. This is where you get your CSV import template, which is the file that you need to fill out. This is where you get your instructions on how to fill out that file. And then this is where you look at your icon library so that you can give your iPoints an image or an icon. Then you would choose your file, upload your file, and this will give you a new project. This works exactly the same as it did before. Now, with regards to other types of uploads, so let's go back into our project now. I'll go into my project inventory, and then I'll click on my map database, and then let's choose like a story map for this example. So I'm going to click into probably my retail story map. So here's a simple retail story map. It just describes a shopping experience, and it's basically, this one's a little bit younger than our Molly Millennial. This would be like maybe 22 years old or something. So let's say I've got these iPoints on this map, or maybe I don't. Maybe I have a blank map and I don't have any iPoints on the map, but I would like to upload some iPoints to the map. In the past, a lot of our features and functions were found in the footer. We've removed all the footer functionality, and now everything can be found in the map editor. So I'm going to click on Edit a Map, and then you just go to this very last choice. It's called Upload iPoints to this map. And then from here, you have the opportunity to choose what type of upload you would like to do. You also can do a extract or a download from the map. So this is your data in, data out. What you would do probably is use upload new iPoints. And if you scroll down, it'll give you the CSV template and the instructions. And then once you fill out your file, you just click browse, upload the new iPoints to the map. You can choose to add them to inventory during upload if you would like to. Otherwise, you can just upload them to the map. And then when you do that, they'll sit in the upper left-hand corner, just like they always do when you do an upload, and then you'll just click and drag and put them on the screen. So that also works exactly the same as it did before. The only thing that's different is where it's located. So in the past, you would go to the footer and you would click upload iPoints to this map. And today, you're going to go to edit the map and you're going to click into this upload iPoints dialog. So I think at the highest level, those are basically all the changes. We've just made everything a little easier to edit. We've created templates for you, and we've created the map database, which you can use to orient yourself to all your maps. And this is where you can add a map. One more thing I'll show you real quick is we've got our map search capability that we didn't have before. So if I would like to search for a map, I can just type in a word that I think I used when I created the map. Let's say I think I have a map with the word retail in it. Then I can just type retail, and then it'll bring back the maps that I've got that have the word retail in them. Maybe I have a map where I use story, do a search on story, and it'll bring back all the maps that have the word story in them. So just a basic simple search to just help you find your maps. This would be relevant in the case where you had a whole lot of maps and you needed help finding them. So other than that, that is really the sort of high-level summary of the changes that we've made to SuiteCX. And does anyone have any questions or comments?
I do have one question. This is Stacy.
Hi, Stacy.
Hi. So in the template for uploading iPoints through the CSV file, there is a spot for comments. Like number 15 is like spot for comments, and it says comment/instructions, a string of text no more than 254 characters. Where does that go in the iPoint?
So that is a good job. That doesn't go anywhere in the iPoint. We just figured that out the other week. So we need to update the import script to remove comments. That is part of the old import script. And
well, I just filled out like 200 iPoints, and I put everything I know in those in the comments. Do I have to move that now to another field?
Yeah. Now, when you made your import, was it for a new project or was it for upload to a map?
It's going to be for a new project.
Okay, so it's your inventory.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to take this back. I heard about this last week. I think maybe you told Valerie about it and she looked into it for you.
I did.
And then I confirmed that what you found is true. So this is a bug. We apologize. It's our responsibility to fix it. What we did when we created the iPoint editor is we did not keep the comments field. So what I would recommend is, and I can help you with this, I'd be happy to help you with this. We can add your comments into this description field instead. We can fit a fair amount of text there. Or we can put it in doing, thinking, feeling, if it's appropriate. I have to read them to make sure that they would go there. Or we could put it in findings. I think maybe findings or recommendations, if it's relevant. So let us help you. Our apologies. Thank you for your patience. And that was a testing error. And I will be bringing that up today and have that resolved. In the meantime, if you'd like, feel free to send me your file, because I'm going to be meeting with you this week and helping you anyway. I think it's this week. Did we set up time?
I think we're about to. Like,
okay.
We confirmed. I'm in Texas. We're in Texas, so we are Central Time.
Oh yeah. Okay, yeah. So I did set it up. I set up a meeting for us. I do remember. I figured you were in Central. So hopefully that time works for you. Check your inbox for it. In the meantime, feel free to send me the file, and I'll just move your comments for you for now.
Oh, that's okay. I just didn't want to then have to go in and update, 200 different iPoints.
No.
I didn't want to just disappear.
No.
So I can change it. I still have my file. I just haven't updated it. So now I can update it and make sure it goes where I want it to go.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks for catching that. Anyone else?
That's all my questions.
Okay, awesome. Anyone else have anything?
Great. Nope, good.
Good? Okay. So I recorded the session. I will create the video and I'll send everyone the link, and then we can continue to share. And if you need to review it later, we can. Also, I'll be doing this again next Monday at a slightly different time. For a lot of our clients didn't come on today. So Darcy, we probably need to blast this out a little bit more. I'm going to follow up on that this week.
Okay.
And then we'll do this again. So if you want to come back, you're welcome to come back. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Have a great day.
Okay, everybody. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.